2015, my first speech, I gave you a bunch of predictions, and I figured it'd be a good time to gut check some of these. And what you'll figure out is things I tend to predict that I like, I tend to try to actually affect. So it's not really a guessing game. It's work that I set for myself for the future. So the one that I predicted 3 years out, 100% of research and alpha discovery done from the cloud, that's going fairly well. How many of you are doing research or alpha gen from a cloud-based platform? Oh, come on. All the proprietary trading firms pretend that's some competitive secret, like, oh, we're using cloud, don't tell anybody. But they are. So at least one exchange will offer trading from the cloud. You know, it's not happening, but my friend Rob Cornish over at, he was at ISE, now he's at NICE. He was the first guy to do full DR in the cloud. I thought that was pretty impressive. So I think from a technical perspective, he's proven that it's feasible, and we'll see what happens. But I think we're on track for exchange technology to be fully functional in the cloud. Other exchanges looking at DR. Epic fail on market data becoming variably priced. I really thought the blockchain fanboys and girls would fix this one for me. And that we would be able to start being able to rent market data out. It's not there yet. I don't think it's going to happen by next year. Companies outside our industry will be the new market data providers. I think Julie just kind of proved that out, right? That's the direction the industry is going. And epic fail on latency being a historical market structure discussion, because I know they're saying it doesn't matter in the press in the last few weeks, but that's total fiction. It's still absolutely relevant. Next 5 years, my big fail here, ad exchanges are nowhere to be found in our industry. They have cool tech, but there's no danger of the exchange model being disrupted by people who may have better tech because they have more complicated problems to solve. But blockchain has definitely had a little bit of impact, especially in the OTC side. You see a lot of exchanges trying that kind of activity. And the regulatory environment is kind of going like this. But I want to talk about the middle one, virtual communities developing based on proximity to and interest in large sets of data, because that's the relevant part of this discussion. So how many of you knew that last year CME Group sold their data center to CyrusOne? Anybody see that? A fair number of hands. That, from a press perspective, was a real estate deal, but it's not fictional, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is it was designed to unlock the potential of that data center. So within 60 days, CyrusOne had sold the rest of the data center out, and they've started building another campus. They bought some land next door. I think I may have a shot of it, but I don't want to leave this. That'll be ready August 1st, another 500,000 square feet. They are planning a third building. They're selling the second. And what does that mean for us? I mean, they could sell it to Walgreens or McDonald's or somebody like that. But what it means to us is there is an intentional effort in place to create a financial ecosystem, in part based on the idea that we're going to bring together sets of data and lower barriers to discovery and fail. So these predictions are things that I think are my next set. And I put cute little influencer tags next to them because I figured I've never been on one of those influencer lists, and maybe I'm a little jealous. Or maybe I think they're stupid. But so let's call FinExtranet. We'll start a new term here today. FinExtranet. If somebody wanted to put together an ETF basket of all of the financial extranets for me, that would be great, so I could short it. Because what's going to happen here is global software-defined networks are going to come into the space. They are not focused on financial services today. But out in Aurora, they've put Megaport live. Anybody ever heard of Megaport? Not enough hands. That's your assignment. Go Google Megaport. Global SDN provider. If you look at, speaking of Google, Google's network, so if you're comparing cloud network providers, Google runs SDN. In fact, they just made their SDN services available in their cloud. Packet Fabric is another partner that'll be going live out in Aurora. So these SDN providers, if you're connecting to cloud today, you know how expensive it is to run a 10 gig connection to AWS East, AWS West, Council Bluffs for Google, Dallas for IBM, whatever. These guys will do it for $500 a month. Dedicated 10 gig, diverse path. This to me is really going to attack our industry because you spend a fortune moving data around the world. And if you can do it on a virtual basis, and keep in mind, like Megaport is live in all Cyrus One facilities, including Aurora. It's also live in all Equinix facilities. So if you want to move data to Catherine's Bats, or an NY4 and NY5, you want to move it to Frankfurt for Deutsche Börse, whatever, you can use Megaport for that. So big change coming in our industry. The next future buzzword we'll call microfins. So I think you're going to see a lot of micro instances of public cloud. Everybody's talking about edge. Cloud is really kind of a simulation right now of mainframe. You ship everything to Ashburn, Virginia. You do your processing. You ship some of it back, depending on how much you want to pay for exit charges, and do what you do. I think you're going to see a lot more small footprints of cloud that are purpose-built. And I can tell you there are multiple cloud providers who have at least toured the Aurora campus, and Cyrus One has a relationship with some key cloud providers. It would not be shocking to see in the next year or two one or more public cloud providers co-located inside that campus. They have plans for a 2 million square foot campus out there. So being able to local direct connect to public cloud, it's sort of a prediction, but it's an active effort. The last one is, speaking of cloud adoption for those in the futures business, the CFTC's been a little bit behind maybe some of the other regulators. I call these the reg technophiles or the OG reg tech influencers. So what's going to happen here is the regulators have already really started moving down public cloud adoption themselves and are becoming more enthusiastic. So I got a phone call from a friend of mine. He's like, I want you to meet this friend of mine. This guy is now the fintech advisor for the CFTC. So his name's Jeff, and we get on the phone, and we're talking about fintech adoption and in derivatives. And I said, Jeff, the real thing that needs to happen here is you guys need to be more public about cloud. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, where do you think all this fintech runs? And he's like, well, cloud. I said, yeah, so if the CFTC says, oh, we like cloud, we want you to store your data in the cloud, that's going to make life a lot easier. So FINRA's already fully embedded in cloud. They're trying to move everything to the cloud. The SEC, CAT will be in the cloud. So we're just kind of waiting on CFTC, FSA put something out. But you're going to see a lot more both internal adoption by regulators and outright evangelism. So what is a financial ecosystem? That's it. I'm not going to read it back to you. You're all fully literate, I assume. So what we're trying, did I make a mistake? Does one of you need me to read that? So what we're trying to create is a space for people to be able to move any workload they want, wipe out their telco, and wipe out their constraints to adoption. So I'm not here to sell it to you, I'm here to ask for a favor from you. And what I'm here to ask you for, we'll just kind of skip the timeline, although you can see the campus here. This is the diagram I was talking about. This middle building here is if you go out to Aurora, you'll see it being built. That's future state right there. So at the end of this exercise, it's going to be a pretty big campus. And SDNs are live. Clouds are going to be going in. The world is opening up from a connectivity perspective. And what we're really looking for is, what else do we need? What are we missing? So if global SDN providers or the SDN providers that we're working with aren't enough, you need to tell us, because this is really for this community. We see this as a differentiator for Chicago FinTech. That's really why I'm telling you about it, because it's something London and New York and anywhere else, they can't duplicate this because they don't have the control over the infrastructure that we do. So if there's something we need to be successful to facilitate this area as not just a fintech hub from an innovation perspective, but a fintech hub from a differentiated infrastructure where there's just a lot of data moving in and out, we need your feedback on that. The middle one is my biggest headache. I really get stuck on how do I document this? Because even now out in the data center, there are people who should be working together who are just, ships passing in the night. And I have yet to figure out, and Jason and I have talked about this, Mark and I have talked about this, Julie and I, we don't know how to document this. So if you have ideas on how I can make sure that ships passing in the night actually connect with one another so that producers and consumers of services related to financial technology can connect with one another, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear your feedback. And, just look for the Miami Vice guy, apparently. And the last one, engage. If cost is neutral, all things being equal, and I have some influence, I can make sure cost is neutral. Evaluate. What services do you think you can bring to a virtual community, a community within multiple clouds? We can connect to any cloud today through the SDN providers. There's probably also going to be a direct connect to one of the providers going out there, given CyrusOne relationships. What can we do to expose your services to the community? Julie's got the mechanism inside that data center to expose data to the community. CME Group has real-time, they've got an MDP solution. We can do streaming data inside there. So what we're looking for is to build this together so that we can build faster than any other fintech community in the world. That's it. Thank you very much.